Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown burst onto the political scene back in 2010 when he was unexpectedly elected to fill the seat of the late Senator Ted Kennedy. And now in a brand new book, he details his life struggles and how they have helped shape him into the person that he is today. And joining me now is the man himself. His book, Against All Odds, My Life of Hardship, Fast Breaks, and Second Chances, is now in stores. Senator, how are you? Welcome back to the program. Appreciate you being here.
Be on again. Thank you.
I read this book. I got to tell you, you grew up poor. Broken family, I mean, really broken family. You talked about, I remember the days when the largest thing we had in our refrigerator were milk and blocks of yellow government-issued cheese.
Yeah, good old days.
Not exactly, right?
Yeah, it was
pretty tough.
It was tough, but you know, throughout all that, the one thing that my mom did instill in us is hard work. She usually had 2 or 3 jobs, and she was just battling to, not only battling literally sometimes with her husbands, but also, you know, battling to keep a roof over our heads, and that really was conveyed to me. And
you even stole food because you were hungry.
Yeah.
And you got busted when you were 14 years old.
Yeah, I stole food. I was playing basketball and running around and was growing leaps and bounds at that point at a young age. I think at 12 I was 5'11". I would just grow like a sprout. And yeah, I was always hungry.
Well, I'll get to that in a second, how basketball rule and a coach and a social studies teacher really saved your life. And this got a lot of news, you revealed in the book that you were sexually abused by a 13-year-old kid when you were 7.
Right.
And then when you were 14 and went away to a Christian camp of all places.
10, actually.
You were 10 at that point?
10, yeah. Okay.
And in the first case, you took a rock and hit the kid in the head.
Yeah.
First of all, when you're writing this book and you're going through all of this, you know, it had to be tough to remember it all. I'm sure you tried to forget it. And why did you think that was important to put in the book?
Well, you don't forget at all. No. You don't forget. So, no, it wasn't hard to recall.
Well, you didn't mean it that way.
What was difficult, though, is obviously bringing it public and talking about it. And
that's what I meant.
I mean, my family, my mom didn't know, or my dad or my wife had a sense that something was going on. That, you know, just through little things I did with the girls. Hey, girls, be, you know, stranger danger. You know, you go to camp and everyone's touching you a little weird. Just be aware. Make sure you tell mom or dad. We won't be mad. We won't, you know, don't be embarrassed. Little things like that. So after she read the book, she's like, oh, okay, I get it. And then it's allowed us to really talk things through. Same with my mom and my dad. And my daughter Ayla just read it. She said, Dad, I get it now. I understand why you're so protective.
Yeah, one of your daughters, by the way, was on American Idol.
Yeah.
She's done really well for herself.
Right.
What, as all of this was going on in your life, you had some people, when you finally got to 8th grade, that really, because you had, how many men came into your life through your mother? A lot.
And my mom and dad were married 4 times each. My mom is happily divorced. My dad is happily married. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I had some good coaches and teachers who just took me under their wing and said, here's a basketball here. You have a lot of potential here. And they directed me, and quite frankly, but not for that, I definitely wouldn't be here talking to you, that's for sure.
But every relationship that your mom had when she brought men into the house seemed to become an abusive one.
Yeah, 2 out of 4 were. Yeah. You know, my dad, and then it was obviously my dad. They were just too young. Yeah. But after that, yeah, it was pretty intense.
And you say you focused all your energy in basketball. You were angry all the time, and that was your outlet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sports.
Yeah, sports, you know, like I said, but not for that. It channeled me. I mean, I remember the coach saying, hey, Brown, why don't you guys play like Brown? You know,
because you were playing with intensity
Brown, whatever you have, you keep it up. And why can't you guys be like Brown? I'm like, what are you talking about? If they only knew.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to politics a little bit here.
Sure.
There's some members of the Tea Party that have gotten angry with you, and they've even used the term Benedict Brown. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Tea Party, as far as I caught in the book, and I was reading through most of it, is I think 1 time. And I think the Tea Party movement feels, hey, wait a minute, we helped elect you. You know, why not give more praise to them?
First of all, I do. I give great praise to not only the Tea Party, but every other political party and individual group that helped me. It wasn't just one group, and to think that is not really accurate. What a Tea Party
member. You consider yourself a Tea Party member?
No, I'm a Republican from Massachusetts. I'm not a Tea Party member. But what is a Tea Party member? Somebody who's concerned about the fiscal and financial future of our country. That's me. They're concerned about the overtaxation and overspending and our national security. That's me. So I agree with what they stand for.
Mm-hmm. But I'll give you the examples where people were mad at you. Don't ask, don't tell. financial reform, START treaty, and the jobs and highways bill.
Well, the jobs and let's start with the jobs and highway bill, a $15 billion bill that could have, if it went through, and you could remember we only had 41. I moved for cloture immediately because there was $100 billion of amendments. So I look at it as I saved $100 billion and hit the parameters. Did it increase taxes, increase the deficit, good for Massachusetts, good for the country, create jobs, and it hit all those 5 parameters.
Right.
Don't ask, don't tell. I'm in the military. I'm still serving. I'm a lieutenant colonel. There are gays in the military, and when they come home injured or dead, I don't ask if they're gay or straight.
What about military personnel and leaders that say this is not good for morale?
Well, all the leaders said, and I spoke with every one of them, and I spoke with over 1,000 people. They said, our concern is about the implementation during wartime, and I agree with that, and so do they. And they're very cognizant of trying to do it during that period. So that issue obviously stands on its own merits. And with regard to the FinReg, as you know, that bill was about as big as this building. And because I got involved, we made it about as big as this table. And when Congress gets done with it, it's going to be about this big. And that was very important.
Here are the headlines. You've seen them. Brown helps Democrats break GOP filibuster. Scott Brown under pressure from left votes for regulatory bill. I'm giving you the media. HDH in Boston. Scott Brown defends voting with Democrats. And in that sense, Harry Reid woos Scott Brown on jobs bill.
No, there's no wooing. Bottom line is,
he didn't woo you. He didn't court you. He didn't call you. He didn't meet with you.
He asked me to look at the bill, which I would have done anyway. Right. But if you look at each and every bill in an independent manner, I'm not quite sure what the mystery was. As I said, I went down there to be an independent voter and thinker. I'm not going to be in lockstep with any particular party. I'm going to look at what's best in hitting those 5 parameters. And bottom line is, we're in deep trouble right now, and we need people who are going to work to move our country forward and attack the very things that are holding us back. And I'm looking forward to tackling the debt and the deficit when we get back into session. Because as I said, when I went down there, $11.95 trillion, up to over 14 trillion and rising, with absolutely no effort to reel in our spending and our debt and get our economy moving again. We spent very little time talking about jobs, and I'm going to continue to work to do that.
When we come back, I'll get your thoughts on President Obama and much more we will have.